The dive bomber continues forwards, searching, while in the distance I hear a police siren approaching. Rolling onto my feet, I start to follow him. The alarm, combined with his lack of sensor mods, means he's basically deaf. I switch my vision to scan. He may not have armour, but the mods under his skin could potentially deflect a bullet. As I pad after him, the computer identifies a chink. At the right moment, I step forwards and shove the barrel under his chin. "Drop it," I say right in his ear. Christ, up close this guy is even bigger than he seemed. I'm no midget, but he has a good 15 centimetres on me. I feel his muscles tighten and the machinery augmenting them shift. I press the Webley in tighter. Last warning. He freezes. Taking people alive is preferable, but not a requirement. Then his lip rolls back, revealing sharp metal teeth, and slowly he stretches out his arm and drops the gun. "You are under arrest for the crime of unauthorized time travel, the transport and use of out-of-era weapons, and the attempted murder of a temporal investigation and enforcement officer," I inform him. I then nearly jump out of my skin as directly behind me somebody shouts, "Freeze!" Looking over my shoulder, I see two of the Cleveland Police Department's finest pointing pistols at me. "Drop the weapon! Drop it now!" one of them shouts. Oh lordy, they must have heard the shard going off. That should have been enough to make them stop and shout for backup, but they both look young and keen. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see the dive bomber's teeth now in a grin of anticipation. If I drop my gun, he'll kill all three of us. The timeline could manage without me, but the premature removal from the land of the living of the two cops could have all kinds of implications. Taking the rogue in alive is now officially off the table. He knows it, but what he hasn't worked out is I know it too. "Complicated problem for you," he says in a thick accent. "No, actually, it makes things much easier," I reply. I don't know whether he understands me, but he certainly doesn't get a chance to think about it before I squeeze the trigger. With the muzzle pressed up into his flesh, there's nowhere for the pressure to vent except upwards. The bullet blows out through the top of his head, and the overpressure propels a lumpy squirt of semi-liquefied brain matter after it. Horrible, but I don't have time to think about it. Before the lumps start landing, I swing round the now ex-dive bomber, jam the Webley's muzzle into his eye, and put the last 3 rounds in to make damn sure he isn't going to get any funny ideas about not being dead. I obviously take the two cops by surprise. Lack of age and inexperience means they clearly don't expect to have somebody murdered in extremely cold blood in front of them. I'm off and running before they can react. "Drop him!" one of them shouts. The other is already firing, but frankly, if my jacket could stop shots from a late 21st century military grade rifle, those little 9mm rounds aren't going to achieve much. If I'm hit, I don't even feel it. "Officer, can you hear me? Officer, can you hear me?" Ah, the welcome sound of control. Whatever implanted jammer was blocking my connection must have been shot down with the dive bomber. "Control, I have a Category 5 temporal pollution." I forget myself and shout it instead of just thinking my reply. "I need to shift 72 hours downrange for loopback and containment." "I need submission of loopback plannings," the reply starts. A bullet buzzes past my ear as I lunge down another aisle. "Damn it, Control, I am under fire from in-era law enforcement." Locking on. Awaiting go. There's another crackle of gunfire from behind me. I need to get out of sight. I can't just disappear right in front of them. At the last moment I spot a portion in one shelf where a unit is empty, and so is the matching portion in the shelf behind it. I'm up and through and out of their sight. Control, now. Like I said, looping back is not the preferred method, but sometimes it's unavoidable. When I'm on assignment, my computer has a complete record of my activities, to the point of logging every direction I so much as glance in. So from my perspective, 3 days later, I'm back outside the warehouse, waiting in a location I know not so much as glanced at it the first time round, ready to watch myself arrive in era. It's creepy watching myself break in, and I'm glad when I disappear from sight. I do learn something new though. A security guard arrives just in time to see the door close behind me, and immediately starts talking to somebody on the radio. With something more interesting than a false alarm, the two cops arrive with a screech of brakes, which incidentally covers the sound of the shard going off. Definitely keen, the dynamic duo charge in with guns drawn, while the rattled security guard, who did hear the explosion, retreats, leaving me free to follow. I hang back until I hear the heavy discharges of my Webley, followed by the crackle of semi-automatic fire and the sound of me running with the police in hot pursuit.